All right, let's just jump right into it. This is probably the number one question that stops people dead in their tracks before they even start. How much money do I actually need to get started with investing? It just feels like this huge, impossible barrier, right?
But what if I told you that the question itself is the real problem? Seriously, what if focusing on some magic number is making us look at the whole thing completely upside down? The sources we're digging into today pretty much scream that the issue isn't your starting capital, it's the question you're asking about it.
I mean, you gotta love this. When one of the experts in our source material was asked for the perfect starting amount, he just laughed and said, probably 12, 15 billion would be ideal. And that's perfect because it shows just how silly it is to search for one right number. So let's completely reframe this whole thing. So here it is, the big idea. Becoming a successful investor has almost nothing to do with the size of your bank account. It's all about the quality of your mindset. It's about making a huge shift from thinking, I don't have enough, to thinking, okay, what's my strategy? Okay, so to figure out where we need to go, we first have to understand the old busted map that most of us are given when we start. And honestly, it's a map that usually leads to a ton of frustration and this feeling that you're playing a game you just can't win. So this old map, it's pretty much built on one single idea: capital gains. You know the drill. It's the classic buy low, sell high. You buy a stock for 10 bucks, cross your fingers that it goes to 20, and then you sell it and pocket the difference. But what our sources make super clear is that for most people, this is way closer to gambling than it is to actual professional investing. And here's exactly why it feels so out of reach. If you want to make any real money from these tiny price movements, you need to throw a lot of cash at it up front. It just becomes a game of hoping, of guessing which way the market's going to go. Which, let's be honest, feels exactly like walking up to a roulette table and betting on red or black. So, you know what? Let's just ditch that old map. Let's set a brand new destination. Instead of chasing these one-time jackpots, the pros focus on building a consistent, sustainable system. And that entire system, it runs on something called cash flow. Now, check this out. This is a brilliant way to understand the difference. Think about it in terms of real estate. Investing for capital gains, that's like flipping a house. You buy it, you pray the market goes up, and you sell it for one single one-time payday. But cash flow investing, that's like buying that same house, but instead of selling, you rent it out. Now you're not obsessing over the sale price, you're focused on that steady, reliable rent check that hits your bank account every single month. See? The goal shifts completely. It's not about making a quick buck. It's about building a money machine. The whole point is to build up a collection of assets that spit out enough passive income, like that rent check, to cover all your monthly bills. And that moment, that's when you're free. That's when you no longer have to trade your time for money at a job. Okay, I can hear you thinking it. Renting out a house still sounds crazy expensive. And you're not wrong. But this is where our new map reveals this incredible shortcut. A way to get in on this cash flow game without needing a huge pile of money. And the key is leverage. Now this right here is a massive mental shift. This is a pro-level secret. You don't always have to buy and own something to make money from it. There are financial tools out there that let you simply control an asset for just a fraction of the cost. And that, well, that changes the answer to our original question completely. Let's make this super real. Let's say there's a stock you like and it's trading for 50 bucks a share. If you wanted to buy and own a standard block of 100 shares, you'd have to put up $5,000. For most of us, that's a lot of money to have on the line. Okay, now look at this. What if I told you, using a financial tool like an options contract, you could control those exact same 100 shares and profit from their price changes for maybe around 300 bucks? All of a sudden, the game looks completely different, doesn't it? So let's just break down why this is such a game changer. First, obviously, the starting capital you need is way, way lower. Second, your risk is totally defined. The absolute most you can possibly lose is that 300 bucks you paid. That's it. And third, because your initial investment is so small, your potential for massive percentage returns just goes through the roof. But here's the thing. Powerful tools like options, they require knowledge. And this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important point we're going to talk about today. The very first, the most critical investment you will ever make has absolutely nothing to do with stocks or real estate. It's an investment in yourself. This quote from the source material, man, it is so powerful. This expert says flat out, if he had only $5 grand to his name, he wouldn't put it in the market.
He'd use that money to buy a course to learn how to make money. He'd invest in his own financial education first.
You know why? Because here's the secret they don't teach you in school. The only real asset you'll ever truly have is your mind. Your financial education is what turns terrifying risk into an exciting opportunity. It's the one thing that separates the amateurs, who are basically just gambling, from the professionals, who always operate with a clear plan. So what does that education actually look like? Well, the source material lays out a really clear roadmap, and it's called the 4 pillars. You learn fundamental analysis to see if a company is actually strong. You learn technical analysis to read the mood of the market. You learn cash flow strategies so you can make money no matter which way the market goes. And maybe most important of all, you learn risk management so you always protect your money. Okay, let's tie all of this together. We've thrown out that old, busted map. We figured out that real capital isn't money, it's knowledge. So where's the actual starting line? How do we really, truly begin? It's actually this simple. You start here, right now, with whatever you've got. Forget about needing thousands of dollars. Just focus on learning one strategy and use it to make your first dollar of passive income. Then figure out how to turn that into $10, then $100. It's not about hoping or getting lucky. It's about building a solid plan, piece by piece, on a foundation of real knowledge. And a huge part of any pro's plan is smart risk management. Look at this. They live by what's called the 1 to 2% rule. That means on any single idea, they only ever risk a tiny 1 or 2% slice of their total account. So that other 98%, it's safe, it's preserved. They are playing the long game. They never, ever bet the farm. And as you build that knowledge base, you'll start to really understand this quote. The best financial opportunities, you can't see them with your eyes. They're basically invisible to the average person. They can only be seen with a mind that's been trained to spot them.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning and finally answer that question. How much money do you need to start investing? The answer is whatever you have in your pocket. Because that's not your real capital anyway. The real question, the one that truly matters, the one you should be asking yourself tonight is, what will you learn first?